Hi, folks, and welcome to another 10 Talk. I'm excited today to have Dr. Christy Angleton from Illinois State University. Christy is an early childhood professor, assistant professor there in the School of Teaching and Learning. And I'm Nancy Latham from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And we're just going to chat today a little bit, especially in these remote environments, about choice boards, using choice boards, and taking that a really interesting step further that you've explored. So Christy, let us in on your choice board thoughts.
So when my kid is a third grader, a rising fourth grader now. When they went remote midway through the semester, one of the things that came to us as parents was these choice boards at every grade level. So the teachers got together and they kind of created these lesson plans, so to speak, that had different options, I guess you would say, for each day of the week for different learning areas. And actually I can show you what one of those looked like. And they were helpful at first, especially. I think even as a person who was a classroom teacher, I was kind of scrambling. Like, what am I going to do with my kid all day? I have to still teach. My partner was teaching, all of those things. And so when they sent these out, they sent them out on a weekly basis, and the teachers asked, try to have them do one thing in each of the domains every day. And they stressed, it's not a requirement, it's not a mandate. We just want something to kind of keep kids learning or keep kids' brains engaged. And I thought that was kind of an interesting perspective, because kids are always learning and kids' brains are always engaged, even if it doesn't look like school, so to speak. And so for the first couple of weeks, maybe the first 2 weeks, my kiddo, she did this, but then she got kind of bored. She felt it was a little bit prescriptive, and not her word, mine, but as we kind of negotiated how she was going to spend her day every day, because the mama and the teacher in me was, we're not doing Netflix all day. So we had to figure out ways for her to engage herself during the day. And so she decided that what she wanted to do was spend some time learning about a topic every day. And pretty much what ended up happening was, in the morning, she said, this is what I'm going to learn about. And then she figured out how to do that throughout the course of the day. And that got me thinking about choice and inquiry, and how important choice is to kids, and how she learned things that she would not have been able to learn doing choice boards such as this. So I worked up this little thing that I called an inquiry board. And this wasn't necessarily something that my kiddo used specifically, but I think that what's helpful about something like this is that it could potentially give kids a little bit more structure to think through the things that they want to do, and helpfully, I think, would be really helpful for parents or other adults or even older siblings that are trying to help kids work through. And so on this left-hand side here, under getting organized, I just have 6 things for kids to consider, both at the start.
Hold on, Christy, I just want to be sure. Are you sharing your screen?
Oh.
Because I just want to be, we'll just click it in real quick.
Okay. Okay. Look, this is why my students, we all got to be patient with each other. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
Thanks for that, Nancy. So in this getting organized column, it's stuff for kids to think about as they start an inquiry, and then things to think about as they go through and as they're finishing up. So the first thing that my kiddo would do in the morning was say, I'm going to learn about XYZ today. And she kind of did things on a daily basis, but certainly doing things over the course of a week or several weeks is, of course, what really gets us into those deep inquiries, I think. But, identifying something that you want to learn more about, and certainly this could be something more school related, but it doesn't have to be, certainly. My kiddo did how to make books. She's given us many, many conversations and presentations on things like dogs and leopard geckos and things that are interesting to her, right? So identifying something that you want to learn more about and then figuring out what questions do you have about that topic. What is it about this topic that's interesting to you, and what is it that would help focus your inquiry? What questions do you have? And then what resources do you need to find the answers to your questions? So I tried to really encourage my kiddo to do lots of different resources. So she was a big fan of the Wikipedia and the YouTube search, but I said, okay, we also have books about this topic, right? Like, let's look at various different ways to find information. And so she did, and it was, it got easier after we did it a couple of times, right? And then figuring out how will you as the inquirer share what you've learned with others. So, some examples are maybe you would make a poster, maybe you would write a book, maybe you're going to build something because you inquired into how things are built. Maybe a puppet show, maybe you're going to write a song and sing it to us, do a quick little skit. There are so many multimodal and rich ways to convey what we know about something, right? And then after sharing what you've learned, reflecting on, did you find the answers to all of the questions? And more importantly, I think, did you find yourself asking more or new questions? Because that can really help kids think through, okay, maybe I'm not quite done with this particular topic. Maybe this is something that I want to keep exploring and keep examining and thinking about. And then finally, as part of that reflective piece, do you want to spend more time on this topic? Do you want to spend more time maybe answering new questions, or do you feel like you're ready to move on to something else? And of course, I don't think that this is cut and dry. I don't think that kids have to say, I'm done learning about horses and now I'm learning about something. Kids can revisit, they can come back, they can do those things. And the thing that I think is nice about having a weekly plan, especially now that the school year is technically over, I mean, it's felt over for quite some time now, right? But, maybe I'm going to work on this part of things on Monday, and maybe I'm going to work on this part of things on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, I'm going to take a break because I'm going to go, play outside or what have you. And so I think just as a record to kind of think through not only what kids have done and what they're learning, but then also how they're moving through that type of inquiry cycle.
So interesting. I mean, it reminds me a lot. It has some real overtones of the project approach,
Mm-hmm.
which is with very young children, although there's no reason to just use that with very young children. I love this. I love the way and even if the teacher, just as if when we have centers in the classroom and we enrich those centers to meet our weekly objectives, we enrich them to kind of guide their learning a little bit, although they have absolute choice if those are done right and what they do, how long they do it, who they do it with, right? But this reminds me of that because even then teachers could make it slightly guided. I mean, they could say, this is what we're studying in social studies for the next 2 weeks. So let's first of all brainstorm together and generate all the things, the who, what, where, when, why that we don't know and we want to know about this topic. You could do that kind of webbing with them. And then that could generate all their different, I'm even imagining like third and fourth, and really probably not even that old, but kids, they could take their results and create Padlets.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this shared, that virtual kind of bulletin board where by the end, imagine at the end of a social studies or a science unit that we've got all these facts and links, the books we created, the videos of the dramatic presentations we did. I mean, it can be really cool and rich. And sharing with their peers. And I love them owning it and driving it, not just the what and the how, but really even the pacing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I really love about it, and it's going to be interesting as we keep having these remote conversations to start thinking about when we get back into AB schedules or block schedules, and then eventually back into face-to-face.
Right.
How do we carry some of this back in?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the part of this, although it's so hard, all this has been so hard, that's the part of this that's such an opportunity.
Yeah.
I just love that. I love this thought of an inquiry board. In fact, after you and I talked initially, I was like in my brain thinking about my college classes and how can I take that into, where would they go with things if it was driven that way?
Right. And I think that there are so many opportunities too to do things that maybe there's just not enough time in a school day to do. So my daughter now, she's 9 and she's figuring out iMovie because she's wanting to put together some stuff. And I mean, I don't know how to use iMovie, so I'm trying to support her, but she's really having to figure out those things on her own, right? And so I think there's a lot of power in that too, is just having some wiggle room or some space or some time in your day to say, okay, I'm going to sit down and try to figure out this thing that's going to help me accomplish these goals.
Oh yeah. And imagine how nicely this would work with AB kind of schedules.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw you on Monday. We went over your inquiry board. You were telling me, I saw your plan for Tuesday. The teacher was able to give or supplement or provide or enrich or, and then I see you on Wednesday and it has a nice, it's a nice homeschool connection because it can flow. And I think what the driving force between that nice smooth flow is that it's learner driven.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're owning it, which I just absolutely love. Well, Christy, thank you so much. We're going to put some top 10 tips in there for people to grab when they grab this 10 Talk. So hopefully we'll get that, and maybe we can even take your example here. And that can be one of the things that are up for them so they can see those kind of guiding questions and that structure. That'd be great. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.